Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Mr. Arthur. So inshallah we'll start now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 184. Allah Ta'ala says in this verse of the Holy Quran, O ye who believe, meaning O Muslims, O the believers, fasting has been made obligatory upon you. It has been prescribed for you. As it was prescribed, as it was made fard for those before you, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may become righteous. Tattaqun. So yesterday, when we were discussing the benefits and the significance of the month of Ramadan and fasting in that month, I mentioned that one of the significant or one of the distinguishing features of the Holy Quran is that Holy Quran not only tells us to do this and not to do this, but Holy Quran also tells us that what is the wisdom and what is the reasoning behind that. When you tell a child to do something, because children are not yet used to their environment or they're not used to living in the society as we are, meaning that they are still curious, they will always ask the question why. If you tell them to do this, they will say why. Or if you tell them to do it like this, not like that, they will say why not like that. So the Holy Quran knows that the human nature is curious and human nature wants to know what is the reasoning, what is the wisdom behind that. So fasting is an act where a person is not eating and drinking for a long period of time. Fasting is an act where a person is not allowed to do certain things which are otherwise lawful, which are otherwise halal, which are otherwise beneficial for human being. Eating is good for us. Drinking is good for us. All the other things some of the other things that we stop during the month of Ramadan are actually beneficial for us. So the obvious question is that why is Allah asking us not to eat and drink? What is the hikmah? What is the wisdom behind that? So like we discussed yesterday, that the very first wisdom or the very first reasoning which is mentioned in the Holy Quran for fasting is that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may attain taqwa. So now it brings us to the question, what is the meaning of taqwa? Meaning Allah Ta'ala is saying fasting will grant you taqwa. And taqwa seems to be something good because we are doing all of this physical and spiritual exercise so that we can attain something which is called taqwa. So obviously from the it seems that taqwa is something which is good, something which is beneficial that we want to have. So the next question is, what is taqwa? Now, this question is a very, very broad question, and to be truthful, entire Islam, entire teachings of the Holy Quran can be called taqwa. That if you follow the Holy Quran, that is taqwa. If you do not follow the Holy Quran, that is against taqwa. But inshallah, my purpose today is to discuss the meaning of taqwa, the word taqwa, a little bit in more detail in the light of the writings of in the light of the verses of the Holy Quran, some ahadith, some statements of the Sahaba, and the writings of the promised Messiah ﷺ and his Khulafa. So first of all, the word taqwa, it is from the Arabic root waw, qaf, and ya, waqiya. And the meaning of waqiya is to protect, is to save oneself, is to use something as a shield. So, for example, the word taqwa in the dictionary, if you look in the dictionary, the word taqwa, Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, doing the tafsir of the word taqwa, in the very beginning where Hudallil Muttaqeen is mentioned, Hazur said that it is Bab Ifti'al from Waqiya, and the meaning is to use something as a shield. In the Holy Quran, we also pray, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. That, O Allah, save us, protect us from the hellfire. Similarly, Imam Raghib Rahmatullah alayh, in his Mufridatul Quran, which is a dictionary of the Holy Quran, he has mentioned, sorry, give me 1 second. Doing the tafsir of the word tattaqun, Taqwa, Imam Raghib Rahmatullah alayh writes, جعل النفس في وقاية مما يخاف وفي تعارف الشرع حفظ النفس أما يؤثم. That taqwa means that a person tries to save themselves or protect themselves from what they are fearful of. That is the main meaning of taqwa. That whatever fears you have in life, whatever anxieties that you have in life, that you are worried about this thing or that thing, protection from that is called taqwa. So now think about the meaning of la'allakum tattaqun, that Allah Ta'ala has given us fasting so that we can protect ourselves from various anxieties of life. Inshallah, you should think about it yourself, but just to give you some ideas to think about, we are afraid of bad health, that we don't want to become old and frail. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that if you fast, fasting can protect you from that. We are worried about being insignificant, that we will not be remembered. Fasting can save you from that. So la'allakum tattaqun, that the fasting will protect you from all of your fears, all of your anxieties. And wafi ta'aruf shar'i, in the language of Sharia, it means hifzun nasi amma yusim. The taqwa means that you protect yourself from anything which is a cause of sin. It is mentioned in the books of history that Hazrat Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu asked one of the companions, Hazrat Ubay bin Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that what is the meaning of taqwa? So Hazrat Ubay bin Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu responded that, have you ever traveled in a place which is full of thorns, which is very bushy? So I remember when we were visiting Sigangang and we went to Nyug Nyug. So there are certain area where when you walk through that area, you have to be very careful, because it is bushes on all sides. It is also very slippery. So Hazrat Ubay bin Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu asked Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that, have you ever walked a place which is full of thorns and it is a dangerous place to walk? So he said yes. So Hazrat Ubay asked him, what did you do? He said, I rolled up my sleeves and I struggled, and I was very careful where I would put my next step, because I did not want to become my clothes dirty or become torn up, etc. So when we're walking on anything which is slippery, like going to Nyug Nyug from or any other places, it is slippery, we have to be very careful. If we are not careful, we will slip and we will fall. So taqwa, Hazrat Ubay radiyallahu ta'ala anhu explained, that is taqwa, to protect oneself from sin through life's dangerous journey, so that one successfully completes the journey without getting his nafs being torn by sin. Just how we are walking a thorny place, or when we are walking a slippery place, we don't want our clothes or our body to become dirty or get hurt. So same way, taqwa means to walk life in such a manner that our spiritual self, our spiritual clothes, our spiritual body does not become entangled in the thorns of sin, nor does it get injured because of the various sins and its consequences. Then, what I really wanted to share with you is, like Hazrat Imam Raghib Rahmatullah Alayh distinguishes between the dictionary definition of taqwa and the definition of taqwa in terms of the Holy Quran. It is, as Masih Maud Islam has highlighted this point again and again. So I would like to highlight this point as well, that words have two different types of meaning. One is their grammatical and linguistic meaning. So for example, the word saum, fasting, it is used for an egg of an ostrich. The Arabic word saum is used for an ostrich egg. But the Holy Quran uses the word saum in the meaning of fasting. So whenever we read in the Holy Quran as-siyam, puasa, we never think that the Holy Quran is talking about an egg of an ostrich egg, right? Because the Holy Quran has taken a certain word and used it as a terminology. Same applies to the word kafir, same applies to the word salat, etc., etc. In Arabic we say walikulli an yastaliha, that every language uses terminologies. So taqwa has a linguistic meaning, which is to protect. But then in Sharia, in the Holy Quran, it is also a terminology. So to understand what is the meaning of taqwa, other than what is the grammatical and dictionary meaning, we have to look at the Holy Quran. That what does the Holy Quran tells us about what is taqwa. In this regard, I found something very beautiful, and that is what made me give the dars today on this topic. One of the sayings of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where he has talked about what is taqwa. So, he said that Allah Ta'ala has explained in the Holy Quran what is taqwa. And then he quotes different verses of the Holy Quran where Allah Ta'ala has given us a definition of taqwa. So I would like to share those verses with you so that we can keep them in mind, and when we say that we walk on the path of taqwa, we must try to follow this definition that is given to us by the Holy Quran. Hazur said, Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said, that number 1 in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 178, Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ. And the verse ends with, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. So this is the definition of muttaqeen, and this is a definition of bir. Bir means goodness, virtue. So taqwa and virtue, one of the definitions that is given in the Holy Quran, Man amana billahi wal yawmil akhiri wal malaikati wal kitabi wal nabiyyin. Iman. Iman in Allah, Iman in the day of judgment, Iman in malaika, Iman in the books of Allah, and Iman in the prophets of Allah. Meaning, arkan Iman, that is the first step towards taqwa. That a person's Iman, a person's aqidah must be correct. Then the same verse continues, وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ وَالسَّائِلِينَ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ. That to spend, to give the money or the wealth which Allah Ta'ala has given you, to spend that in the love of Allah, not to spend it for any other reason but for the love of Allah. To spend that upon whom? Upon your near relatives, Zawil Qurba, meaning that you should take care of your relatives. That is taqwa. Wal yatama, and to take care of the orphans is taqwa. Wal masakina, and to take care of the miskin, poor people, is taqwa. Wabna sabil, travelers, taking care of travelers is taqwa. Wasailina, and those who are asking, beggars, taking care of them is taqwa. Wafir riqab, those people who are in loan, those people who are enslaved because of this reason or that reason. Taking care of them is taqwa. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةَ, and to establishing salat, that is taqwa. وَآتَ الزَّكَاةَ, giving of zakat, spending in the way of Allah, that is taqwa. وَالْمُوفُونَ بِأَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا أَهَدُوا, that to fulfill your promises, whatever promise you make, fulfilling that promise, that is taqwa. So in our lives, we have made many promises. One of that promise is the promise of Bayt, that when we became Ahmadi, we signed the Bayt form, we took a promise, we made an oath that we will follow the conditions of Bayt. So one of the meanings of taqwa is وَالْمُوفُونَ بِأَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا أَهَدُوا, that they fulfill their promises when they make a promise. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَاسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ, that people, another definition of taqwa in the same verse is patience, sabr, in the times of hardship, in the times of pain, and in the times of war. Whatever difficulty you have, you are patient and you do not break your relationship with Allah. That is taqwa. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. These are the truthful people and these are the muttaqin. So that is one definition that is given by the Holy Quran of what is taqwa. Then in another place, Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, وَالَّذِي جَاءَ بِالصِّدْقِ وَصَدَّقَ بِهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ, that those who attest to the truth which has been brought by Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are muttaqin. Meaning muttaqin are those people who by their life, not only by their word, but also by their action, they testify to the truth of Islam. Then another verse of the Holy Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, that the Jannah is prepared for al-muttaqin. Who are muttaqin? Alladhina, those muttaqin are those يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ, that muttaqin, bal taqwa, are those people who spend in happiness and in constraint. Not only to spend in the way of Allah when you are rich, not only to spend in the way of Allah when it is easy for you, but rather to spend in the way of Allah also in wad-darra'i, also when you yourself are in a difficult situation. When it is difficult for you to spend in the way, even then to spend in the way of Allah, that is taqwa. وَالْقَازِمِينَ الْغَيْزِ, and they suppress their anger. Suppressing of anger is taqwa. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and they forgive people. Forgiving of people is taqwa. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and Allah loves those people who do ihsan, who go beyond their sense of justice and duty, but they take care of people beyond that. So the verse continues the definition of taqwa. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ. The taqwa muttaqi are those people that when they do something which is fahisha, which is an open and manifest wrong, أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, or they wrong themselves, meaning when they commit a sin, when they make a mistake, when they go against the commandments of Allah, what do? Zakarullah, they remember Allah. They know that Allah Ta'ala is watching them. They know what is their actual responsibility, etc. فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ, and then they ask Allah for forgiveness for their sins. وَمَنْ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, who can forgive sin except for Allah. وَلَمْ يُسِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. That is a beautiful definition of taqwa that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse of the Holy Quran. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَمْ يُسِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, that muttaqi are those people who are not insistent. They are not they do not insist that they are right. They do not do israr, meaning that they do not when they do something wrong, they do not become they do not become arrogant, and they do not become they accept their mistake, and they do not insist upon their mistake. That is a beautiful definition of taqwa, that muttaqi are those people, yes, they can make mistake, but they don't insist upon making the same mistake again and again. Then in another place Allah Ta'ala says, Allazina taqaw. Then Allah Ta'ala says after that, the muttaqeen are those who always ask Allah for His forgiveness. And they are as-sabirin. They are those who have patience. Was-sadiqeen. And they are truthful. Wal-qaniteen. Muttaqeen are those people who are qaniteen, meaning they're always turning towards Allah, they're always worshipping Allah. Wal-munfiqeen. And those people who spend in the way of Allah. Wal-mustaghfirina bil-ashar. And they are the people who do istighfar, who seek the forgiveness of Allah in the early times of the morning. Then Allah Ta'ala gives another definition of taqwa. ذِكْرًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ. That is another, you can say, classic or very, very important definition of taqwa that is told to us by the Holy Quran. That muttaqeen are those الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ, that they are fearful of Allah bil-ghayb. What is the meaning of that? It has twofold meaning. The meaning is that, number one, that Allah is in ghayb. You cannot see Allah, but they are still fearful of Allah. That when nobody is, we don't know, everybody keeps on telling me that Allah is watching me, but I don't have any proof of that, like worldly proof, until I die. So that is part of Iman bil Ghaib, that Allah is always watching me. But 99% of even Muslims, we accept it with our mouth that Allah is watching, but we don't really accept it with our heart. Hazrat Masih Maud, Imam Mahdi ﷺ has mentioned that if a person truly believed that Allah is watching, he will never be able to commit a sin ever in their life. He gives an example, Imam Mahdi ﷺ gives an example, that imagine a hole. If you put your hand in, if you know that there is a snake in that hole, will you ever put your hand in that hole? No. Another example given by him is, you know something is poisonous. Will you ever eat that poison? Never. So, Hazur says that to Hazrat Masih Maud, Imam Mahdi ﷺ says, to get rid of sin, a person needs surety. If you know you will be caught doing this crime, you will not commit that crime. People commit that crime because they think that they can get away with that. Right? Same way, people don't eat poison because they know if they eat that poison they will die. So Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ explained that if people knew that Allah is watching, and if people knew that sin is a poison which will kill them, they will never commit that sin. But the reason people commit that sin is because they do not believe that that sin is a poison. And more importantly, they do not believe that Allah is watching them. Yes, they believe that Allah exists with their mouth, but in their heart of hearts, they do not believe that Allah is watching them. So, muttaqi are those people, yakshawna rabbahum bil ghaib, that they fear Allah even though Allah is in ghaib. And the second meaning is that they themselves are in ghaib. That when we are in front of other people, it is very easy to follow Islam. One of the complaints I hear from people who move from Zamboanga to Manila, or who move from a Barm area to a Christian area in the Philippines, is that it is very difficult to follow Islam. That if we move from, Tawi-Tawi to Cebu or to Manila, it is difficult because we don't have that Islamic system. We don't have mosque, we don't have vacation on Friday, time for Jummah, etc., etc. So, when a person is in front of other people, it is very easy to follow things customarily, that we do things as custom. But when a person is alone in their house, when no one else is watching them, that is where the real personality comes out. So, muttaqi are those people, yakshawna rabbahum bil ghaib, that they fear Allah not only when they are in front of other people, but also when they are alone. that is actually mentioned as one of the signs in the ahadith also. In the ahadith it is mentioned that Allah Ta'ala will make hellfire haram upon such a person whose eyes fill up with tears when they remember Allah and when they are alone. So that is one of the signs of muttaqeen, that they are fearful of Allah. الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ. Now Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, after giving this definition, he says, what are the benefits of becoming muttaqi? This is a big definition. We have to do all of these things to become muttaqi. But why should we try to become muttaqi? Because if we become muttaqi, Allah Ta'ala has promised us the following things in the Holy Quran. Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa uyun. That muttaqeen, those people who are righteous, they will enter paradise. They will enter the gardens which will be bestowed to them by Allah. Then Allah Ta'ala says, this is another definition of muttaqeen, that Allah Ta'ala says that muttaqeen are those people that they spend most of their night, they sleep for some of the night, and they spend a big portion of the night in the worship of Allah. And they seek forgiveness of Allah in the middle parts of night. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. And whatever Allah Ta'ala has given them, they keep a portion for the needy sector of the society. They do not think that everything is their own. That is another definition of taqwa. Now, what has Allah Ta'ala promised the muttaqeen? Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Other than paradise, other than Jannah, Allah Ta'ala says that Allah loves those who are muttaqi. Then Allah Ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ وَلِيُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah becomes the wali, the friend, the guardian of those who are muttaqeen. Then Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. That Allah is with those who are muttaqi, who are righteous. Then Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. That Allah accepts the worship, the sacrifices of those people who are muttaqeen. Then Allah Ta'ala says, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That the end result, the victory, the final victory in this world and in the day of judgment belongs to the righteous people. وَالْآخِرَةُ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That the last day, the end, belongs to the muttaqeen. وَإِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ لَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ. That the muttaqeen, they will have the best result of their action. That is what Allah Ta'ala says. Then Allah Ta'ala says about muttaqeen, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ Then Allah Ta'ala says about muttaqeen, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. That whoever has taqwa, no matter what kind of difficulty they have in their life, Allah Ta'ala will find a way out for them. That is a promise of Allah. No matter if you're stuck in any place, you do not find any exit, Allah Ta'ala promises you that Allah Ta'ala will grant an exit for you in that situation. Then Allah Ta'ala says, إِن تَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ فُرْقَانًا. That if you have the taqwa of Allah, Allah will grant you furqan. It means that Allah will distinguish you from rest of the people. You will be a distinguished person. Allah will always grant you victory. Allah will always grant you something that distinguishes you from other people, that sets you apart from other people. Then Allah Ta'ala says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. That if you have taqwa, Allah will teach you Himself. Allah will teach you the Quran. Allah will teach you the meaning of religion. Allah will teach you what you need to learn. But the requirement for that is taqwa. Then Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَنِعْمَ دَارُ الْمُتَّقِينَ. That the best of the house is for those people who are muttaqeen. Then Allah Ta'ala says, جَنَّاتُ أَدْنٍ يَدْخُلُونَهَا تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ لَهُمْ فِيهَا مَا يَشَاءُونَ كَذَلِكَ يَجْزِي اللَّهُ الْمُتَّقِينَ. That on the day of judgment, Allah will grant them paradise and Allah will grant them whatever they want. This is how Allah rewards those who are muttaqi. So taqwa, like I have explained, has a vast definition, but there are a lot of blessings of taqwa as well. So Allah Ta'ala says about the month of Ramadan that the purpose of Ramadan and fasting in the month of Ramadan is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So all of these verses of the Holy Quran, all of these definitions that I have given you, that is the purpose. Now, how does Ramadan give us that? Ramadan or fasting therein provides us with opportunities to do that. So for example, we are able to offer, one of the definition I mentioned is you stay up in the middle of the night, muttaqin. So it enables us to get up in the middle of the night and worship Allah, tahajjud. One of the definition was spending in the way of Allah. So Ramadan, we give fitrana, we give fidya, and other than that, there is a lot of emphasis of sadaqah in the month of Ramadan. So Ramadan provides us with the platform, it provides us with the opportunity, it provides us with resources and helping tools to attain that taqwa. But even then, even with all the resources, if you don't use them, you will not get what you want. For example, if somebody tells you to write this application or to build this house, you need these tools. To catch this fish, you need a hook, you need a boat, you need a net. So you say, okay, somebody gives you all of these things. They give you a lanza, they give you a net, they give you a hook, they give you everything. But if you don't use them, you will not have any fish. So Ramadan has given us all the tools that we need to attain taqwa. But at the end of the day, it is still our responsibility to use those tools. If we keep on sitting at home, if we are getting up in the morning to eat suhoor, but we are not offering tahajjud, of course we will not attain taqwa. If we are not spending in the way of Allah, if we are not paying fitrana, how can we attain taqwa? If we are not reading the Holy Quran, even though Ramadan we have the opportunity to listen to Taraweeh, Dars, etc., how can we attain taqwa? So Ramadan provides us with the tools, but it is still our responsibility to use those tools. So I pray that may Allah Ta'ala enable me and enable all of us to take full benefit from this month of Ramadan. Please spend extra time in the prayers, in dua. Pray for yourself, pray for your families, pray for the Jamaat, most importantly. Pray for Jamaat in the Philippines, pray for myself, and pray for other missionaries also. So use the month of Ramadan in dua and in the worship of Allah. May Allah Ta'ala enable me and all of us to take full benefit from this month of Ramadan. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad wa barik wa sallim innaka hamidun majid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.